Guys, good Friday morning. My name is Jerry Miller, and welcome to Real Talk, an insider's guide to real estate, life, and the pursuit of happiness. We're live in Charlottesville, across Albemarle County, Central Virginia, and the Commonwealth and the world, here on the I Love CVille Network. Today's program presented by Yes Realty Partners, a trusted name in the real estate game. Yes Realty Partners, guys, and of course, Charlottesville Settlement Company, Pearl Certification, Intrastate Service Company, Scott Mortgage Morris, Shenandoah Joe's, and our fine friends at Sigora Solar, making the program of the network possible. Judah Wickhauer is our fabulous director, our North Star, and the foundation for audio and visual on this network. My friend, if we could go to the foreshot and welcome three fabulous people to the show. We will start with the fabulous Kate first, the CEO and the president of Piedmont CASA, Kate Duvall, the magic man, Jimmy Miller himself over here, the voice of an angel, the jump shot of a Hall of Famer, and the personality of someone you want to hang out with.
Oh, that's nice.
And Keith Smith, our friend as well. What's up, everyone?
So I was thinking, each one of us have like a moniker, a middle name. We got to work on something for you, Kate, during the show.
Distinguished gentleman, the magic man, and
I don't know.
the get her done gal. The get her done gal.
Take it.
But I'll be thinking about that through the show. We will come up with a moniker for you.
Why don't we start with Kate? Introduce yourself to everybody that's watching this program.
Hi, I'm Kate Duvall. I'm the president and CEO of Piedmont Court-Appointed Special Advocates, the CASA program here in Charlottesville.
Fantastic. I did not know what that's what it stood for.
Yeah.
So thank you for that intel. Jimmy, I am seeing quite a few of the fan base right now giving you some props. But before we talk everything that's fabulous that's going on with CASA, Piedmont CASA, snapshot on Jimmy Miller, please.
I'm Jimmy Miller. I've been in the community for 30 years, I guess now. I went to UVA back in the early 80s. I'm president and CEO of Miller Financial Group, and a longtime advocate of Charlottesville and Central Virginia.
A magician?
Magician, sure.
A man who likes to work out.
Are you actually a magician?
Yeah.
It's a hobby.
Yeah,
Really? I did not know that.
Yeah.
I should have read the bio a little
bit
closer on that stuff.
You're good, right? It just kind of flows. It's very organic.
So tell me what it's like to be a magician. I did not know that.
Yeah, listen, I was 8 years old, I think, when I first saw a magician, right?
Really?
And it's like, hey, that's pretty cool. I'd like to learn how to do that. And so it evolved, and oh my gosh, I could talk for an hour and I won't. But the reality is, when I was a kid, there was this guy Marshall Brodeen, who had this TV magic set, and it was a 60-second commercial, and he did these things, and it was out of Palatine, Illinois, and my mom got that for me for my Christmas present, right? And under the tree when I was 12 years old, and so it became a hobby, and I did it, and I tell you what, it's opened up some really neat doors. I've had the chance to perform for 2 presidents of the United States.
I did not know that.
And so, but fast forward, so I'm at a international convention. They have, believe it or not, they've got conventions for magicians as well, right? And I'm in New York City, but there was Marshall Brodeen all these years later. And my mom had that little Polaroid snapshot of me opening up the present when I was 12 years old. And I took it there to New York, and then I got a photo with him all these years later, holding this, and I've got that now framed at home.
I don't know why I feel like I need to take my Apple Watch off and put it someplace else.
You should check it. You still got it? Okay.
He does. He showcases some of the talent on Facebook. You haven't been doing it recently. I love when you do that.
I am so I just do it when I'm having fun at the moment, And when I do it, though, I get like, oh, you should do that again or do something else.
You totally should.
Yeah, well.
This is exactly why I love doing the show with Jerry and all this stuff. I never knew that. I thought we were going to talk about something else, and it's just like, wow, my world.
Yeah.
I had no idea that you did that. But we want to showcase this lovely lady over here, and give us the who, what, when, and where of CASA. What it's about, why it's so important, and why what we're about ready to talk about is going to make a difference.
Yeah, so CASA is a 26-year-old nonprofit here in Charlottesville. It's a part of a national network of nonprofits, and we have 2 programs that run out of our CASA here. And so we have the typical CASA program, which is a volunteer advocacy program for kids in foster care. So when a child goes into foster care in our community in Charlottesville, Albemarle, Louisa, and Greene, they get a CASA. And our CASAs are just regular folks. Keith, you could be a CASA. Jerry, you could be a CASA. You go through training with our program. We get you sworn in with the court. And then as Judge Barry, I don't know if anybody out there remembers Judge Barry, who sat on the bench for a very long time here in Charlottesville, in the Charlottesville area, he referred to CASA as the eyes, ears, and heart of the court in these cases. Wow. So our CASA advocates get to know the kid, they get to know everything about that child's family, and they make a recommendation to the court about what's in the best interest for that child.
So I'm on a couple of nonprofits myself. I chair a couple of them myself, and this is the reason I was excited about today, because it's so important to help raise money to support organizations like this. And you've got something that you've been doing for 10 years that you should probably talk a little bit about coming up.
Well, so my wife and I...
She's watching. And she says Jimmy met his wife because of his magic. Best store of all. She's watching.
Hi, Rachel.
That's good.
As CC wrote, this is a family thing.
That's right. Oh, right. Thank you for bringing me back, man.
This man's a pro.
I saw you going down.
I could have gone a lot of ways right there. Okay, where was I? I'm still here. Right. Okay. So my wife really got involved initially with CASA, and then she was the.
She's been everything.
She's been everything. I mean, from the interim executive director, where you're sitting, to a volunteer, to working at CASA, to being on the board and serving on as the chair of the board. So she's done it all, and through her, I learned a ton about what CASA did, and so I got involved, and it's near and dear to our hearts as a result. So we've been doing this for over, she's been involved, we've been involved together, I don't know, 15 years
at
now,
least,
maybe, something like that.
Yeah.
And so about 10 years ago, Keith, we it's probably over a bottle of wine, we were basketball and young people are something that I'm passionate about, and it's like, how can we bring the two together? And that's where kind of the creation of this bracket breakfast, right? I might be biased, but the greatest sporting event in the world is March Madness.
No doubt, not even close.
And so I've had the good fortune of playing in that tournament and being a participant, and then being on the other side of it as a fan, a spectator, and that's kind of how it all started. Was like, hey, what if we did a bracket breakfast, and we'll have our own 4 panelists, people known in the community, and we'll get them up there, and we'll assign them each a region of the country, and we'll have our own selection, show. And so that we have now been doing that. Like I said, maybe this is our 10th year, and we've had to hit the pause button because of the last 2 years, right? And this year's been very fluid, trying to bring it together. And there are a ton of people that I could thank in that process, and happy to at the perfect time. But that's the gist of it.
I've attended some of these. Unfortunately, I can't attend this one. I'll be out of the area for that particular.
So what'd you think?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was fun, and I'm probably going to say something that's a little sacrilegious, and you're sitting too close to me, and I may have to back up a little bit and get away from the mic. I'm not a huge basketball fan.
No, that's all right.
I'm sorry I even said that.
Oh my gosh, that's blasphemous.
Sorry I said that.
There were a lot of things he could have said
I know,
right there. Like, I was saying, okay, what is it going to be?
I know
You
that.
can knock the magic, but not basketball. Good Lord.
I saw you do a trick, and it wasn't that good.
Look,
like anything.
But basketball, Jimmy.
I've only been doing this 3 years. Jerry has a lot of work with me. I got a lot to learn. But the point was somebody who was not passionate, maybe that's a better choice of words, was not super passionate about basketball. I walked out of there being passionate about basketball and learning how the process works. And let's talk about that, because it's a little confusing for us folks that are not in the arena like you guys are. How does this work? What is this bracket thing about, and how do you guys have your own version of it? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think I'll answer it in some way, shape, or form, and
we'll take it.
You
from
can
there.
fill in the blanks, maybe. But I think it's really important to understand, like, basketball is the vehicle to kind of bring these people together. It's really important that we're trying to raise important dollars for Piedmont CASA to help these really horrific situations that oftentimes we don't hear about until like if it's in the paper, like a CASA volunteer was probably already involved, but a lot of times this stuff we don't read about, right? And so it's raising important dollars to support, to help these abused and neglected kids. And secondly, it's an event to try to create awareness for those who aren't familiar with CASA, right? And so again, my passion for basketball is like, okay, let's center, maybe there's a large population of basketball people who
well, the room is always packed.
And I'm grateful for that. Our sponsors, our CASA volunteers who help out, our bracket breakfast committee. We've got there's a group of a handful of us that do some of the dirty work, and then of course our sponsors. Right, those are the people that make this happen.
So Kate, we obviously can't use specific names and stuff like that, but give us some success stories, right? How it actually impacted a young person. We can't use.
Sure.
But just what does CASA really do at a ground level, and some success stories?
Right, I'm happy to do that. And so in addition to our CASA volunteers program, we also have the Bridges to Success program, which is, we have 3 staff mentors who work with kids who are looking at aging out of foster care. So, they're starting working with them at 15, preparing them for adulthood when they're 21. One of my favorite stories recently about one of our coaches working with a youth, and this young person's in independent living. He's, they're out there doing it on their own, and our coach took this young person grocery shopping. First time, right? Didn't know what they were really doing in the grocery store. Bought some eggs. What do you do with eggs? Right? These are things that our parents taught us what to do with eggs, right? And so what does our coach do? He gets in there, he teaches them how to scramble eggs, teaches them how to, all the different ways you can cook an egg and have a nourishing, healthy meal. In addition to just teaching this young person how to cook eggs, that coach has helped this young person find a job, has helped this young person, this was a young person who was really struggling with mental health issues and was really struggling, and now is working, is in independent living, is just doing it and really on a good path to be successful as an adult. So that's one of our coaches' stories. A success story with one of our CASA volunteers was just working with kids whose parent was incarcerated, and there were a lot of things that parent had to do in order to have their children back with them when they got out of incarceration. And they were given a pretty short timeline to get those things done. And our CASA volunteer really recognized the relationship and the depth of that relationship between the parents and the children, and the possibility for that parent to succeed, and for the really love that the children had for their parent. And so advocated for that parent to have a little bit more time to work on what that parent needed to work on, to really set themselves up for success with their children. And ultimately the children were returned home and are doing really well. And the parent in that situation just totally gives all credit to CASA for that return and that reunification. So that's a real success story.
So I'm not sure if the cameras can see this, but I can see the emotion this close to you in your
You're
eyes.
passionate.
Yeah. I mean, these are kids who the really unique thing about CASA is that we are telling their stories. Our CASAs are in it from the beginning, and they stick with cases all the way through. and they get to know that child and everyone interacting with that child. And while social workers or teachers or doctors or other people may be coming in and out of that child's life, our CASAs are consistent and are right there with them. They meet with them monthly, and they really are the folks who tell the story for the kids in the courtroom, so that the judges are empowered to make the right decision. The decision that's in the best interest of those children.
So, Jimmy, how are we going to get some money for this organization? Tell us about all the great guests you got coming up for this bracket breakfast, and get people excited. Get some of that golden voice going.
Yeah, well, listen, it's all, it has evolved over the years, and this year we've got one, I think, new person to our panelist, and 3 who are returning, and we can start with the president, Jim Ryan, of the university. He was with us the first time, I think, the last time we did it before pre-COVID, and it was great. It's at the Boar's Head, so he's there, and then of course we got John Grisham, who is really a big basketball fan.
Great seats.
He's got nice seats.
He does have nice seats.
and so he brings his style and charisma and knowledge of the game in a different, to him, to this audience. And it's pretty cool to have him. He's been with us now for a handful of years, and it's awesome to have him there. And then two others, Macon Gunner, who's a local realtor here in town, who was, I got to know him as a statistician who supported Dave Kane.
Yeah.
Right? He fed Dave all the stats during the basketball broadcast, and didn't feed me one. Right? I had to make the stats up if I was going to use it.
Shh, don't tell me.
Now a podcast co-host with Chris Long.
Absolutely, yeah.
Macon Gunner.
He's really, but we joke. He's really talented, and so we got him as a participant in the past, and was so well received by those in attendance that like, man, let's get him back. And then we got our female panelist, Caroline Darney, who is the managing editor for what is it? Bet for the Wage, Bet for the Wage with USA Today.
Okay.
But like I said, she knows, she's very knowledgeable about the game of basketball and all sports, and follows Virginia closely. But she's going to be up there to be able to give a certainly objective perspective from an analytical perspective.
The absolute fun of this bracket, even if you just have a periphery of basketball, is to watch the 4 guests go at it.
Yeah.
Because I've seen it before. I've seen it with John and different guests. The competition amongst the 4 guests, it's really fun. How it ends up, it really doesn't matter. But just to watch, particularly Mr. Grisham, once he starts getting his dander up a little bit, it becomes super fun. So that reason alone is worth paying the fee to come join us and join you and watch this fun, and it helps an absolutely great cause. Yeah. So how much of this bracket breakfast helps is part of your budget? Well,
that's a good question. I think this year we're really hoping to kind of recoup some of what we've lost over the past few years, because we haven't been able to hold it for 2 years because of COVID, right? And so we do really depend on this. Luckily, we've had some emergency funding from government and whatnot has filled in some gaps over the past couple of years. But we're really hoping to hit our goal of $50,000, and we'd love to go above that. In addition to the bracket, we've got the breakfast. We've got the bracket competition, which is a really fun add-on. I'm sure Jimmy can talk about that, and the online auction, which includes a lot of just fun local stuff, local sports memorabilia, as well as some local business items too, which should be a really nice addition. So we're hoping to really have a successful year this year.
You will have a successful year.
Yeah.
How about some of the viewers and listeners that are watching? So Bill McKenzie's watching, and he says Jim Miller performed magic for Cub Scout Pack 36 back in the 90s when I was a Cub Master, and he was absolutely engaging and amazing.
Where was NIL then?
I know.
Like what?
That would be another revenue stream for Jimmy Miller right now. Where was NIL then? Jack Ferguson Maxwell watching in Scottsville, giving the panel and Jimmy some serious props right here. Rachel has your back 100%, Kate, and she says this about you: thanks for all you do.
Oh.
You're absolutely amazing through all your hard work. And she says Piedmont CASA does the most important work for our community's children. No one else does this work for abused and neglected children who are in front of our local courts. Piedmont CASA volunteers ensure that these children's voices are heard and their needs are met. They are safe, secure, and nurtured. We'll welcome Stefan Strain to the program, Sharon Sullivan, Allison Leanne Slusher. I'm seeing 5 states on the feed right now. Nicholas Erpy, the CMO of Emergent Financial, watching the program. If you want to put some props or perspective or questions, put it in the feed on any social platform, and I will relay it live on air. Kate, this work, how does it stack up with some of the other amazing jobs you've had in this community? Because I can absolutely tell that you are truly just like inspired by the mission of the organization.
Yeah. So gosh, that's a tough question because I've had some truly amazing jobs in this community. I've been lucky enough to practice law as a part of Legal Aid Justice Center, and was a part of the university over at the law school for 5 years. I think that what I really appreciate about this work is how unique the role of a CASA is. There is, like Rachel said, there is no one else doing the work of the CASA. Not that there aren't folks involved with these kids and looking out for them and working towards their best interests, but that consistency that a CASA brings and the duration, they stick with a case. We ask for our CASA volunteers to commit to 18 months so that they can stick with the kid and stick with the case. And that is just a really unique role, and no one else is doing it. And so that's what, I mean, gosh, we could talk all day about how important it is to support kids and that, just how wonderful that side of the work is. But I think for me, it's the uniqueness. It's really that no one else in that courtroom is playing that role.
So how does somebody volunteer, and what is your
great question.
What is your requirements?
Before you answer this,
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Lisa Napier, you're an absolute rock star.
Love you,
Kate
Lisa.
Duvall.
Love
Giving
you.
you some props right now. So I just wanted to relay that to you before you answer that question.
Well, Lisa has my heart. She's a wonderful woman. So how does someone volunteer? Go to our website, pcasa.org, and there's tons of information there. We're working with kids, so there are some. You've got to jump through some hoops.
Okay.
There's a pretty significant training, so that you know all about how the court system works, all about how the foster care system works, how to interact with these families and these young people. And so that's about a 35-hour or so training. Before you get there, you've got to interview with us and attend an information session. And then we also have to do background checks. That's required by the government, actually. The Virginia Code requires us to do background checks, and there's other rules and regulations about why we have to do
But
those.
you don't have to have any legal background.
Nope. You can.
Somebody
you can be
like
from
a little realtor like myself can do that.
Anybody. We have former teachers. We have folks who are in nursing school.
The whole background
We have
check
retired
got me nervous.
military teeth. We've got retired military.
The whole background check I got a little nervous about. Maybe Mrs. Smith might be a
Yeah,
better
your wife is good.
Well, send
Yeah.
her our way.
Some of the stuff in the 80s I don't think is on the books, so we might be okay.
But no, you don't have to have any legal background. You really just have to have the time and the energy and the desire to be able to do the work. And then we'll get you where you need to be. We have staff who are really well-versed in supporting our volunteers. We have
So I
folks who
happen
are
to
there
know
for
my
them.
wife is at a meeting right now, and I have a bit of a volaholic problem. I tend to volunteer a little bit too much, but I'm really interested in this, and I might reach out to a couple of people in my office and my team that want to give back. We're always about trying to give back and help, because this community has been so blessed to us in what we do, and we always want to try to give back.
Please do. That'd be great.
I'll spread the word for you.
Yeah, we've got a training class coming up, so we're running information sessions.
So when is that
right
next?
now. Oh, that starts just after the public school spring break, I think.
Okay,
So
cool.
about the second week in April.
Thank you.
So multiple questions coming in here. Gwendolyn Gale Cassidy, the UVA grad, the Harvard economist who is watching in Holland right now.
Awesome.
She says, besides cash and time, what other donations are needed or how else can we help with the mission?
I think that spreading the word in ways like this, so just getting the word out about CASA. There's CASAs not just here in Charlottesville, there's CASAs all across the country. I'm not sure about whether there are any in Holland. I don't think so. But, just if you're not here, getting involved with your local CASA or supporting them in the ways that you can. Coming to the bracket breakfast, just come and have fun.
That's a flight,
right?
That was a good weave-in, by the way, Kate. You're doing really good. You're natural at this.
Yeah, I also think just learning about these issues and educating yourselves about the way that systems impact our kids, right? Learning about the foster care system, being an informed, member of the community, so that you can take action when needed.
So it's foster and adoption, right? Or just on the foster side?
So we are assigned to every foster
side
case. So some of those end in adoption, some of them end in independent living for older kids, and some of them end in reunification. We're always hopeful that we can have a case that ends in reunification, but we our CASAs have to consider other options too.
This is a good question that's come in here. Will the event be live streamed in any capacity for folks to enjoy online?
I think we're trying to figure that
out.
Yeah,
that's right. I know it's been discussed.
Yes, we're just we're. With the ups and downs that I think we've talked about a little bit of this year, just trying to figure out live stream. Just look at CASA's website, pcasa.org, and we'll be sure to have the latest information about it there.
Yeah, that's fluid, right? I mean,
yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like I know we've talked about it, and still trying to.
Pretty sure there's a guy at a table that can help you with that.
Yeah, could we get Judah over to?
Our technology is your technology over here. So this is from Grayson Long, who's watching in Short Pump. How did the organization manage COVID? Could you put in perspective how you guys survived and got stronger?
Oh, wow.
Great question.
Yeah, so COVID did throw us for a loop out the gate, right?
Yeah.
All of us, for sure. But our volunteers got so creative. And I think especially with some of our older youth who are more inclined to pick up a text or FaceTime, so we utilized all of those resources to connect with the kids and the young people that we work with, which is nice, and actually opened up some different ways of communicating with them. And then our volunteers got super creative. So we have a volunteer who's a former teacher, and she was working as a CASA with a younger child. And so she put together these little packets, kind of little activity packets, and she would drop them, she'd do the porch drop off and put it there where the child was living, and then she'd go home and they'd get on FaceTime together. And that was just a way of connecting with this child who, like a lot of kids, probably after 2 seconds on FaceTime is ready to peace out. Oh. But this activity gave them the opportunity to stay engaged and communicating and really, solidify that bond. So they just got really creative. And that creativity has continued to just shine in the way that our volunteers and our coaches have approached the work since then.
So this is a good one for Jimmy. It's a basketball question. Then we got a question. So we got, guys, we're going to get to as many of these questions as humanly possible here. I promise, Michael, we'll get to yours here next. 7 states and 3 countries now watching the program here on the show. Jimmy, play-by-play guys, which is some common similarities between Dave and John, and how much do you enjoy sitting alongside those guys during basketball games? That's from Stacy, who's watching in Virginia Beach.
How much do I enjoy? I mean, listen, I get to sit right up close on the court next to Virginia's bench 99% of the time and see great basketball night in and night out. For basketball fans, even if you're not a Virginia fan, but basketball fans, the game the other night against Duke was that was a high level college basketball game, and So I've been really fortunate and blessed and grateful to have had the opportunity to sit in that seat and to see those games up close, having played in games like that in the past, to them being just a casual fan, to now re-engaging in a different way now, and thinking and seeing the game differently. So it's intellectually, it's stimulating, believe it or not, and like, gosh, I've gotten to know the coaching staff. They're phenomenal people. All those guys on that staff are great, and the kids are super kids. So when you get to, that's part of the experience. And I've always said, I listen, if I don't enjoy that, I wouldn't do it. And it's kind of a little labor of love in that regard. And so Stacy, I love it. Did I answer the other part about the differences between the two?
Kaden Freeman. She said similarities in how much you enjoy sitting next to these guys.
Yeah, I love it. Listen, I love them both. You know what I mean? Dave is a pro, and I learned a lot from him and his style and about the role of an analyst. When I had no experience prior to that, so I've learned a lot from him, and he's gone on to continue to spread his wings and advance. And John Freeman, listen, this guy, the great appreciation I have for him, because this is his first year, and a year ago, however he was doing what he does and how they traveled, the hotels they were staying in, the food that they would eat, he is so grateful that he gets to sit and call Virginia Duke like it's the Super Bowl of his game, and it's a great reminder.
A UVA grad.
And he's a UVA grad,
Yeah.
So he started like when you were a kid, like that age, like sitting up in the stands all the way at the top watching those games.
Jimmy,
right?
I remember when John Freeman, I hope you're watching this, was a hard-hitting safety for Steve Isaacs and the Western Albemarle Warriors. And he was one of the best football players in the Jefferson district, literally. One of the best football players. And then he goes to UVA, and while John, I believe this is correct, while I was working for ESPN Radio, John was doing some internship and some part-time paid gigs for WINA calling high school football. So I'm sitting there in the press box covering Friday Night Football for the Jefferson district, fresh out of college. This is a $10 an hour job I had at UVA. Or at the Daily Progress and ESPN Radio. And John is on the other side of the press box calling the games and putting his heart and soul into these calls. I mean, you could see him as like a 21-year-old college student, that his future was going to be so bright in broadcasting.
You said something there, I mean, is spot on. The word I think of, and we've used it before with Kate, is passion.
Passion.
And he is passionate, and he brings that to every game, whether we're playing, and no disrespect to Lehigh or whatever, an early season game, the same level of passion and energy as he did the other night against Duke, for example. And so I love that. Passion is one of my favorite sayings. There's a saying, light yourself on fire with passion, and people will come from miles away to watch you burn, right? I love that, and John Freeman brings a tremendous amount of passion to what he does.
You didn't get in the slant and cross a football field in the Jefferson district without fearing John Freeman at one time. And John, I sincerely mean that. More stuff coming in for Kate and for Jimmy. This is from Michael Plecker of Yes Realty Partners, who helped make this possible. He says, among his many talents, Jimmy Miller, basketball, magic, financial advice, broadcasting. He's been known to tickle the ivory keys at the Aberdeen barn from time to time. Jimmy Miller, you tickle? I did not know that. You're a piano player at the barn?
What don't you do?
Is this true? Angela lets you play the piano at the barn?
Angela's great. She's
amazing.
She is amazing.
Yeah.
So she it's a slow night, Jerry, and there's like nothing's going on. All right.
Could she feel sorry for you? Is that maybe
that may be right?
How about this for Kate? Kate, how many current CASA volunteers do you have, and how many more would you like to have? Has COVID made it difficult to stay connected to children? And for all those that are watching that want to volunteer, how do we go about doing it? Should we visit the website? Good question right there.
Yeah, so we have about 100 current volunteers. We are always looking for more. It's a fluid situation, the numbers of young people who need our help, who are coming into foster care. So we're always looking to train folks and to have folks who are willing to put in the time and energy to be a volunteer. And we do have a class coming up, I think I mentioned, in just a couple of weeks. So you can go to our website and find out more. All the information's there about how you do it, pcasa.org. And there was another part to that question. It was about connecting with kids in COVID. I think I maybe touched on that a little bit, but we were able to really use the technologies that are available to us. Thank goodness for our phones and FaceTime and all the other things. We also met outside. And folks were able to have yard meetings with the kids that they work with, and just really really take advantage of, gosh, speaking of how lucky we are to be here in Charlottesville,
right.
Have you not felt that privilege of how great of a place it is here during this all of this COVID time, just being able to get outdoors and feel safe and take advantage of all that we have to offer in that regard here in town? I know I've really felt that privilege of having so much green space.
I had this conversation literally yesterday, and you brought up the Boar's Head, so it made me reminisce of a conversation I had yesterday at the Boar's Head. I feel blessed to call Charlottesville our home, and to have a wonderful family and wife and son and colleague whose family in Judah, and this business that evangelizes this community. I mean, I know you guys do too. This community, and Jimmy, so special, so amazing to just live and to reside and to sing its praises. How about some aspects of the community that you absolutely love?
Yeah, well, you've touched upon many of those. I grew up in West Virginia, and I came to a small town, and someone said, is there a big town in West Virginia, right? But I came to what I thought was the big town of Charlottesville, and that was a long time ago, and I had the fortune to be able to leave, and like so many of us, come back. And I met my wife, and we too have two kids, 16 and 14 now, and they're growing up in this community, and like for so many of us, right? We come back here and we're drawn to all that Charlottesville and Central Virginia offers, and this is my home, where I probably could have gone to a lot of different places. I chose to come here, and then we're in a community where, like, the people who live here are just so. They're phenomenal people, really, and we sometimes maybe we take that for granted, and we can't, right? And hopefully COVID has kind of reminded us of all the great things that the people in this community do.
Amen.
And here we are, we're sitting here, trying to do another event for a really important cause in Piedmont CASA.
And the community rallies.
And the community rallies behind that, and that speaks to the quality of that. And I don't lose sight of that. And I'm grateful for all the challenges that are in front of all of us. What the people, the real pillars in this community, and everybody else who supports that are just phenomenal in the work they do on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Jimmy, I got to take you in a different direction, because I actually was reading your bio as you were speaking. You performed in front of Bill Clinton and George Bush. Who was the most fun?
That's the hardest question you got there, Jimmy.
Tell a little story.
The most difficult things Jimmy's had to do so far is remember his Facebook credentials and maybe answer this question right here.
And you were stumbling with your kids' age too. Just wanted to share that with you. Only because I was having a hard time the other day.
He forgot his daughter's middle name.
I forgot my daughter's name. So.
There's a lot of pressure on you.
I feel like Clinton.
9 states and 2 countries, Jimmy. No pressure.
Don't worry about it. I got to feel Clinton had to be cooler and funner to hang
around.
Listen,
he. So when
That's
I was
a guy I'd like to go out and have a beer with.
he had just been impeached.
Oh, really?
So he was probably
so-
not feeling it.
And that's what you would think, right? He wasn't feeling it, and he walked into that room, and it is true. Like, everybody said, "Oh man, he was a great speaker." Like, and he talked to like he's just talking to you, right? And there were. So this event started as what was going to be an intimate thing for the holiday press corps party. They the White House throws a party every year, right? And so it evolved from what was going to be an intimate group of 200 people to 2,000 people. So that changed my act a little bit, I guess. But so my point is, Clinton walked in that room, and you wouldn't have known, like, I mean, here, the most powerful man in the world with the weight of the world on his shoulders, and he connected like you were the only one in there. That is true. People said that of him, and that is really true. So both experiences were, for Bush was the inauguration.
That was Bush.
Two. Yeah. So
W.
George Bush and Vice President Cheney were there. So that was during the inauguration. So there were 10 of.
So it was less intimate.
It was less intimate. We were doing what we call table magic, hopping around from table to table. I did a card trick for Susan.
I still have my watch. I'm good.
For Susan Lucci, yeah, right? The soap
the
star,
soap opera
right?
star,
You know,
yeah.
so she had her little followers all around her and everything. And it's like, I'm like, oh, let me go do a card trick for her, And I went up and I'm doing. Somebody interrupt. It was like the longest card trick, like pick a card and then somebody. It took like 12 minutes for me to
get to the point.
To get to the point, And but anyway, yeah, two very different experiences and both memorable for me.
Well, that must have been cool. I would have liked to have been a fly in the room on the Bill Clinton one. That must have been an actual cool.
It was pretty cool.
So did he engage in the magic with you, or?
So no. So I, as part of being a magician, I was trying to prepare so that if I was able to get close enough to him, what could I do that was relatively quick, so that if there was a photo, somebody could look at that photo and say, "Oh, magic was happening," right? Like that,
So I'm going to put you even more on the spot. In my backpack over there, my wife and I play canasta, and I always carry I have 4 decks of cards.
Wow. Are we going to get the decks of cards over here?
No, I'm not going to do that to you, Jimmy.
I mean, I think he would do
That's
it.
a different show, right?
I think he would do it.
Excuse me.
Yeah, I think he would do it. So finish your thought there. So you had a moment you wanted to do something really quickly, and you wanted to, if it was captured in a photo. Was it captured in a photo at all?
No, it wasn't. So,
Okay.
but the effect, what I was going to do is like, President Clinton, do you have a bill on you, and hopefully you'd have like a $1 bill or $100 bill or whatever, and to be able to take it and then start to make it float like right in front of him, right?
Ooh.
And so it's his bill, impromptu, and if there was a photo, like people will know, okay, that's President Clinton, and okay, who's the tall guy standing next to him? But that bill's floating, right? So there's magic happening, and that didn't happen. But I was prepared to if that opportunity presented itself. So the window was short where I would get close.
Well, I'm
to
not
that.
Clinton, but there's a couple of card decks here.
Yeah, no, you keep those right over. You keep those right over. Those are funny looking cards, by the way. I don't know.
Cards.
Well, they're from Europe, okay? I have a little bit of culture, so they're from Europe.
Well,
and
that's good.
My wife and I.
What part of Europe are these from?
So they're Austrian. My wife is
Austrian. So what part of Austria? I
Vienna.
lived in Vienna.
Really? From
Yeah.
Vienna?
Did you read that in the bio?
Didn't get that far.
I don't know.
No, yeah, it's not in there.
That's
I'm
not in
joking,
the bio.
right? Yeah, is this a full deck?
So it's a canasta deck, so it actually has extra cards in it.
Oh no.
You might have to watch this
yeah.
over here, J-Dubs. We got the cards in his hand. Judah Whitcover is our director, who may be adapting on the fly.
I'm already
literally
saying,
right now. I don't
have you
know.
ever handled a magic
You
trick?
can't see it,
He
probably.
never has. He
Can't
never
see,
has.
you can't see this.
So my
right
wife
now.
and I play canasta. Have you ever played canasta?
I have not,
So
no.
it's rummy on steroids.
Yeah.
And anyway, to make a long story short, we play, and I always lose. And she's so good at it. She gets me like a little bit she lets me win a couple of hands,
Right.
and then comes in and zaps me. And we usually pay for who pays the mortgage payment, and I always seem to lose and have to pay the
your
mortgage
wife
payment.
sounds like she's a smart
Oh
woman.
yeah, well, poor choice of men, but very, very smart.
Look at
So while our director is adopting on the fly,
There's a
how
bunch
about
of
this
jokers
one
in
for
there.
Kate?
Yep.
This is from Holland, from Gwendolyn.
All right.
What is the care like for foster kids who age out of the system, specifically for housing? She's a huge housing advocate.
Yeah.
And then she adds, what does the typical foster teen go through when aging out?
Gosh, Gwendolyn, that's such a good question because it's a really difficult time. In Virginia, we do have extended services for kids between the ages of 18 and 21. So those are kind of like foster care supports, but way reined back. And so they can live in a lot of different places. Unfortunately, here in Charlottesville, we don't have as many independent living placements as we would hope. So a lot of our kids who are looking for independent living end up in the Richmond area. And so our coaches who are on staff end up traveling to Richmond or to other places to support them in independent living placements. They can also be in foster care or in, with families that have taken them in. And then the other part of that question was what services?
Let's see here. I'm going to get to the end. And
Sorry.
what does the typical foster teen go through when aging
Oh
out?
gosh, yeah, right? So think back to your 18-year-old self, right? And think about how much you thought you knew, but you didn't really know, and so how many times you'd end up,
Now, I'm
calling.
almost 60 in the same spot, so.
Right, and calling like your parents and saying,
I was in Dabney 101, old dorms.
right. I still call my parents,
Absolutely.
like I call my mom on the way over here to talk to her. So, but those calls that you would make, Dad, my car needs an oil change. Where do I take it? Right? What am I supposed to do? I'm not in Richmond at home anymore. And so they, they have so many questions, they have so many needs to prepare them for adulthood. And thank goodness we do have some extended services through the government now that provides them some supports and services through Fostering Futures. And thank goodness for our coaches on the staff at Piedmont CASA. Now, they're not working with every kid in Virginia, but they support about 30 to 35 kids a year, and they are just holistic wraparound mentors. And I talked about the oil change. We have a young person that one of our coaches worked with who's in, lives out of Charlottesville, has a car, which is pretty amazing, but needed to get an oil change, and called our coach and said, do you know how to change oil in a car? And he said, well, okay, what's going on? Like, tell me the story. And then helped this young person go and showed them how to get an oil change. Where do you go? Where do you find a reputable shop? How do you know that it's reputable?
I might need to call your coach.
I know, right?
So it's life's lessons.
It
that
is.
we
It's
work.
about preparing them for adulthood.
So-
And it's those life lessons, Keith, but it's also the big stuff. So it's about helping them if there's a mental health crisis, helping them on the track to find educational supports, jobs, housing, you name it. They're
So
really
I was
there.
smiling on my way in. I was on my phone with my 36-year-old daughter,
Yeah.
who's driving from Norwalk, Connecticut to Manhattan because she's a makeup artist. She does like movies and
Cool.
television and all this stuff. Can't do nothing with this. And we were having the exact same hey, I'm having a problem with my car. Brand new car, by the way.
Right.
I'm having a problem with my car. Well, bring it back to the dealer. Yeah, but Daddy, it's making this noise. So I'm diagnosing this issue
Right.
as she's driving on I-95 from Norwalk to that in the traffic and dropping some colorful language because the traffic was a little whatever. But I think Jimmy's camera's set up.
All right.
Jimmy has a deck.
We're going to do a little teamwork over here. This is the foundation of the show. So you give us some instructions right here of how we should optimize. And I don't think he had any idea that this was going to happen here.
Yeah, that's great. You tell me how to optimize. Like,
I'm sitting on the deck. Tell me when you're ready to go.
Okay.
like what's the it? So
boy.
this is
On the fly.
on the fly.
The man
right?
on the fly.
So do you have a favorite ace? That's
say
a popular card.
Ace of Hearts.
A lot of people.
Yeah.
So this is your deck of cards, right, Keith?
It is, yeah.
We didn't set this up.
We sure
He picked it up out of his backpack moments ago.
I
This is
literally
completely
did.
unplanned.
I was thinking, so how can I make Jimmy uncomfortable?
Can you can you tell I'm like tap dancing right now?
See how good Jimmy really is.
What was your ace again?
Ace of Hearts.
Ace of Hearts. Now,
Yeah.
so and this is a what deck? A canasta?
Canasta deck, so
Canasta.
it's canasta, so it's a rummy game that you play with.
So
two
there are
decks.
more than 52 cards.
There are more than
is what you're
52
saying.
cards, though.
So it's interesting. Like this is one way to shuffle a deck of cards. I don't know if your camera is picking.
Oh, it's
this
picking it
right
up.
now. I can't see.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can show you right here what you
Oh,
got.
yeah, you're right
No,
there.
okay,
That's
you
good.
just see the hand.
Yeah.
So, remind. What's your ace again?
Ace of Hearts.
All right, I
Ace
tell
of
you.
Hearts.
So I don't
Want
know.
me to
if
write
there-
this down for you, Jimmy?
Yeah, I know,
I
right?
think this
It's
is
like-
part of the trick, Keith.
I'm just gonna riffle down the side of the deck. And I want you to say stop
Okay.
anywhere, right? I mean, it can be literally on the 26th card or the 14th card. I don't care, all right?
Okay.
But you stop anywhere you want to,
Okay, stop.
right there.
Right there.
You can change your mind.
I like that spot, Jimmy.
You're happy with the mind you have.
I am happy.
That was a little joke right there. You know. So,
No, I wrote that note.
Oh, you're right.
down.
Yeah,
Happy with his mind.
Right.
I often think about that 4 times a week. I'm just
yeah. So this is different cards, and I know we're doing it here on the table, and it's hard to see the cards, but you did stop on one card.
I did.
Right, and that was the what was the ace again? The ace of.
I'm not going to tell
What
you.
was it? Heart?
Ace of Hearts.
Would that be like would the?
Yay! Hold on, I got the clap right there going.
Oh,
Jimmy
nice.
Miller making
Wow.
magic again.
How about that?
Jimmy, thank you for doing
That's
that.
Oh
awesome.
man, yeah.
Thank you.
Yay.
Thank you.
Oh, that was so good,
I
Jimmy.
will have to tell you, I've made
Charlottesville's finest is giving Jimmy Miller some props outside our studio. They love the Magic Man. Charlottesville's finest right there. Ray Cadell, the horn player, is giving Jimmy Miller some props right now on the show. That was awesome,
That's
dude.
so great.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Wow.
I almost want to ask you how you did that, but I won't.
Yeah, well, it's
How many cards are in a canasta deck?
So there's,
it's like
excuse me?
I don't know.
Yeah,
How
yeah.
did you
so,
know there were more cards? You can tell by the
Well, he said, but it did feel thicker.
Thicker?
Yeah. So
yeah,
I'm-
and you
I'm
also
not-
pulled out a bunch more.
Is this all your stuff? dude?
Jokers.
Yeah, there are a lot of jokers in there, and
Yeah, so Canasta
a lot
has a
of
bunch
jokers
of. I
in
think
here.
it's-
There's a lot of things in common.
So I think it's 54 cards in it because there's 2 extra jokers.
Okay.
2 extra jokers in it. So on that. So you did that with an extra 2 cards in it.
That's crazy. Jerry actually did it. I really didn't do
You
anything.
didn't do
He
anything.
just said picked a card and said stop. So that
Is that how that
You
works?
know,
So we have done
That was
quite a bit
so
live
good,
on this
Jimmy.
show to have fun.
Yeah.
To include, Jerry and I get dressed up in 1966 spandex, Batman and Robin.
That was
Oh,
one of
wow.
the best
Wow.
moments in I Love CVille Network history.
Wow.
Jimmy Miller pulled that up. You guys have made this show truly a joy, a joy. How about this? Why don't you take a moment, Kate, to offer a message to the community about CASA, Piedmont CASA, everything that you guys have cooking, and what it is that you absolutely love about Charlottesville and Albemarle in Central Virginia.
Yeah, I think I'm going to echo what Jimmy said earlier, which is just about the people of this community. And I'm going to echo it in what I love about Charlottesville, which is the folks here, right? The people that make up this community and that support us at Piedmont CASA. And I'm going to echo it in my thanks and say thank you to everyone who supports us in all the ways that they support us, as volunteers, as donors, as just friends of CASA, in all the ways that you know just comes about, and just for being there for us. And you know, also hopefully for being attendees at the bracket breakfast. So yeah, it's all about the people. That's what I think really makes this place home for me.
Great answer. You are fantastic in this setting. Seriously.
Well, I can't do magic, but
You have a gift for words
oh,
and communication.
gosh, thank you.
Sincerely mean
Thanks.
that.
It makes it easy when I'm talking about something that's
You're
so
passionate
important.
about.
Yeah.
Very, very well said. Jimmy Miller, the show is yours, sir. Anywhere you want to go.
Well-
There's a lot in that brain over there.
No, listen, I wanted to come on here just to talk about the event, and so it's Monday morning, March 14th, at the Boar's Head, 7:30, I think is when so it's bright and early. We'll get you out of there, in an hour and change, and it's going to be a lot of fun. We've got those amazing panelists, and we're going to talk basketball and about the greatest sporting event that's going to unfold over the next 3 weeks after that. There'll be a ton of great prizes and giveaways along the way, and we want people to come out and support Piedmont CASA, and that's really what this is all about.
So how do people register for this? How do folks who are listening or watching can participate in this and join or sponsor?
So if you want to sponsor, that's great. I know we've got a good number of people that are already on board, but we want this event is for everybody, whether you're a young person or an older
Our
person.
age.
Our age, right? It's like, I wasn't going to say that, but. I would probably direct people to Piedmont CASA's website, pcasa.org, and go there, and there's got to be a link there.
There is.
There's a
I'm looking
big
at it right
orange
now.
box up at the top that
so
says Bracket Breakfast.
Bracket Breakfast. Click on that. That'll give you all the details with regard to cost and how to get involved. Or if you just want a single ticket and you want to show up and have a lot of fun, that's
And
what
if you
we're
can't
hopeful
make
for.
it, donate. There's a big donate button on
Yeah.
there and volunteer
Yep.
button.
Absolutely.
Go ahead and hit it. I'm looking through the list of what's available from TV to tickets. But the thing that caught my eye, because I love chocolate, was a big box of Garhart's Fine Chocolate. So I might have to get a proxy for me to go in there and see if I can go ahead and win that, because anything
Good,
with
yeah.
chocolate,
They're great, and we got a ton of other sponsors who have been phenomenal with their support.
And Keith, even if you can't be there, you can participate in the online auction. So after the event on the 14th, the online auction will go live.
Oh,
You'll find
perfect.
information about that.
After the 14th.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So I think on the 14th it will go live, and then you can bid on all the good stuff there. So lots of fun things, like I was talking about earlier, sports memorabilia, some other good kind of food prizes, and other activities and events there. So it should be a good time.
So Jimmy, I've been in this town for 35 years. You pretty much the same length of time.
Yeah.
Jerry and I are getting ready to do a series of shows in April about the history of Charlottesville in relation to real estate and different things. What has changed the most for you in 35 years, or how many years you've been here? What stands out for you?
Wow, there are probably a lot of things, but in the 35 years, the evolution of just the growth in the area, I think. Robbie, I mean, you can speak to that better than I. Getting from point A to point B, and it's just a little more challenging. And I use that word like it's all in perspective, right? You go up to Northern Virginia,
Exactly.
and it's like so. That's probably more people come here for all the reasons that we did 35 years ago.
So that conversation with my daughter, who was coming from Norwalk to one, it's a 30-mile drive. She was on her second hour.
Yikes.
On that.
Brutal.
But everything has changed a little bit. I think one of the, and my wife and love the opera and music and all these different things. One of the big things that I like, what really boosted this community, was when the Paramount went from being most folks who've been here was abandoned. It was a vacant building, and a lot of folks got together and turned it into this awesome venue that you can see, top acts on it. But this is a neat little town. You get an opportunity to see world-class basketball, right? World-class sports, from baseball.
Yeah, Keith, you touched upon something there. When I came to school here in the early 80s, you didn't come downtown on the downtown mall.
When I came to, we could speak to, I was here in 2000, and my buddies and I took the trolley from Bonnycastle Circle to the downtown mall to see Agents of Good Roots play at Miller's.
Yep.
We walked into Miller's as 18-year-olds. looking perhaps for some trouble. And we go into Miller's, and the folks that were inside there, this is 2000,
Yeah.
said students are not welcome here.
Yeah.
And now
Yeah.
you look around the downtown mall, you have UVA students everywhere.
You got UVA students everywhere. The Paramount is thriving, you know, pre-COVID, right? That was, you know, and we're getting back to that, right? That's what I'm hopeful for.
I'll tell you what, I wandered down the downtown mall. Oh my God, when was the last day we had? It was 60 degrees and sunny. Monday, I think it was, or Tuesday. Who knows in Virginia? Tomorrow it could be 100
Right.
degrees. It was packed. It was like a Tuesday, if I remember correctly. It was after the show.
That's right.
It
Yeah.
was packed,
Yeah.
which was great to see, right? It was great to see people out. And Jerry and I have been talking about this over the last couple of shows, and maybe in your world you can share about it a little bit. It just seems like this pendulum is starting to swing, you know, from where we were with, you know, COVID. It just seems like folks are getting out a little
Oh
bit more. Are
yeah,
you seeing
yeah,
that in
no,
your
for
world?
sure. Yeah, I mean the people, you know, we're all, you know,
I mean, talk Duke
trying
on
to,
a couple nights ago. Place was packed
what?
at the game.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no,
JBJ
right,
was
right.
rocking.
It was right.
So how
It
did
was-
that feel to go back to that?
You know, that
normal-
was, it was quickly like, man, this was old time, right? And
Yeah.
that was the way it used to be, and that environment is electric, people are eager to get back out, travel, you know, stay in hotels, spend money, and retail shopping and all that stuff. Like
and go to the
Yeah.
Bracket Breakfast.
Yeah.
and
There you
come out to the bracket bread. We love to see you out there for sure.
The last one, we'll close on this, and this is for Jimmy. And we're not going to get to all these guys. We're mindful of their times, but last one for you. Memphis, Danny's watching in Memphis right now. Says, please ask Jimmy what it was like to be on the floor of a national championship in 2019.
That was special. It was, listen, I played in a Final Four back in '84, and so I know what the feeling in that environment to be as a player, and it was a privilege then to 35 years later or whatever it was to then be on the broadcast to call that game. And it was for all of us who are fans of basketball, Virginia fans. I know there are a ton of people who aren't Virginia basketball fans, but the story itself was magical, and to be in that environment was truly spectacular. It's special, and you know, it's the Final Four in 2019 is significantly different than the Final Four in 1984, right? And you know, there were so many. You got me started. Like I could talk forever. It was a wonderful experience. There's so many moments along that run.
Oh my gosh.
Not only in the
What a run.
I know.
you know, in the regular season, but
Yeah.
for the Purdue game to listen, Kyle Guy stepping to the line and
banging
knocking
those
down
free throws?
Oh my
three free
gosh.
throws. Like that's like every kid. I promise you, every kid who has played the game of basketball has done that in their minds as a kid on the playground, right? They create the scenario, they step to the line, they're down 2 with 1 second left, and they got to shoot the free throws. That's why Kyle Guy was able to knock those down, because he had done that a million times growing up in Indiana, and he quickly, if you go back and watch the tape, he went into his routine, and that's so important. And you know, you got to block out that the 75,000 people that are watching.
How do you do that as a
And the millions more around the world that are watching, right? He went to his routine, and I promise you, he reflected back to when he was a kid. You know, I've shot this free throw. You know, the dimensions haven't changed, and so that's really important.
But the crowd did.
But that's really important, is where you get into routine.
Got it.
And getting your routine down and having that same routine, and then being tested under duress. Like, there's no doubt. That, to me, is one of the most amazing moments I'll remember of that experience.
Well said. You guys absolutely crushed this. Absolutely
Thanks.
amazing. Seriously.
Thanks.
I sincerely mean it, guys. This is Real Talk on a Friday. Keith Smith and Michael Plecker just put together a fantastic panel. Thank you, Michael Plecker, for the help with this. Kate, You rose to the occasion.
Oh,
today.
well, this was a lot of fun.
Rose
Thanks.
to the occasion
It was a lot
today.
of fun.
Jimmy Miller always does. Keith Smith certainly does. And Judah Wickhauer adapting
fly.
on the fly with the camera work and the audio and visual for a
Way to
magic
go.
trick. First time that's ever happened in the 5 years we've been hosting shows on this network. My name is Jerry, guys, and we certainly hope you enjoy today's program. The I Love CVille show is up in 1 hour and 8 minutes, where we're going to spotlight a restaurateur that's opening up a restaurant on the downtown mall, Botanical, and we're going to have a landlord, a real estate owner that's got 2 properties on Shamrock Road. I don't know if you saw those. $800K asking for 2 properties, 850 square feet about each.
Wow.
82 years old, these 2 properties. We'll see what happens on the I Love CVille show. Guys, you have a good one. Thank you for joining us, and take care. You guys were amazing.
Thanks. That was so fun.
Thanks for doing that on the fly.